Daily Tastings, the Wines of Alsace, our master class. This is exciting for me. I'm with Olivier Humbrecht, Zintenbrecht, and these are some wines that can age in the cellar, and you don't think of white wines as being agers.
In the past, actually, people used to keep white wines much longer than red wines. It's only current fashion that made people keep the reds perhaps more than the whites.
So these are two great wines, the current vintage of the Rangon de Tan Pinot Gris.
It's one of our top wine on the estate.
Perfect.
Grand Cru wine, 2007.
And then we have one with how much bottle age?
21. It's a 1989.
So where were you in 1989?
It was actually my first vintage.
Wow, that's really cool. Thanks for bringing that out for me. That's awesome. So this is crazy. Pinot Gris is basically the same grape as Pinot Grigio in Italy, but you would never put those down in your cellar. I mean, this is beautiful.
Well, if I may say, the grape variety for me is only the tool I use to express the vineyard. It's like a wine writer. You can buy a good pen or a bad pen. It's not that what makes you write something good.
Right.
And the grape variety can be properly cultivated in a great site with very small production, which is the case of this vineyard. It's an extremely steep vineyard. The slope is 100%, extremely steep. Very, very special soil, which is volcanic rock, that makes the grapes grow very slowly but acquire extreme high richness of taste and flavor. As we obtain very small yields from these high density vineyards, it makes wines that have a huge aging potential.
So for a collector, this is the holy grail right here.
I would hope so, yes.
It is for me. So tell me what I'm getting in the glass for the current vintage, the 2007.
Pinot Gris is a medium aromatic grape. You cannot really compare it with something like Gewürztraminer or Riesling, which are more aromatic.
Right.
But it's definitely more aromatic than something like Chardonnay, for example. It's right in the middle, if you want. You have two things that makes it so aromatic. First, it's the slight overripeness. You have a little bit of noble rot that adds all these honeyed, waxy, beeswax kind of flavor. And then you also have the vineyard influence. The volcanic rock gives a very strong flinty, gunflint character.
Smokiness here.
Absolutely.
Wow.
You get a sense of sea air, iodine, rock, powdered rock, gunflint. The honey and fruitiness of the overripeness creates this hugely aromatic wine.
What would you pair with it?
And in Alsace, simple and good is a little slice of foie gras and a piece of toast.
Sounds really good.
But anything which I would consider as a white meat, you know, pork, chicken, veal, ethnic food, Mexican recipes or Creole recipes will go very well.
These kinds of wines have to be perfect for Americans because we love to eat all those ethnic flavors. I mean, we eat everything Indian, Thai, Chinese, Creole. So this is really a great wine to discover if you love a lot of exotic foods.
Absolutely.
But I'm dying to go to the older one now.
The fact that these wines can taste so open when they're young, a lot of people are sometimes tempted to drink them too young, which is sometimes a pity because you see what happens 21 years later, you get much more of the vineyard character.
For me, once it gets to this stage, wine experts talk about tertiary qualities, and there are these things that were never in the glass to start because it was mostly fruit. And now there's all these things in there that sometimes don't even make you think of fruit. Like I get a little bit of meat stock.
Dried meat, a bit of venison, a little bit of truffle oil.
Yes.
And again, the vineyard signature, which is the smokiness and gunflint.
And I haven't even tasted it yet. I'm so excited.
Both vintage are comparable in style. 07 was a great year in Alsace. 89 was a great year in Alsace. So you're comparing two wines which are also comparable. Aging a wine is, you need a great vineyard, but you also need the help of some better vintages that give everything that is needed to the wine to age properly.
Okay, so for age, you need a great vineyard, but also a great vintage, right?
Absolutely.
So, all right, so the best wine candidates for age are the highest quality wines in the best vintages for the longest aging
And
time.
eventually also perhaps someone who knows how to make wine so they will age.
Well, I think you had a little something to do with this, but this is really cool actually for this to be your first vintage. Were you worried?
Absolutely, but we are a family business, so I also had my parents still there overviewing what I was doing.
And they weren't going to fire you probably.
I hope not.
That's really great, though. This is such a tribute to your skill that in your first vintage you made something that is this delicious 21 years on. On the taste, there's all the things that you described in the smell, but there's also a little bit of a note of licorice.
Yes,
Really special.
Both wines have about the same kind of balance, except that with age, white wines tend to taste slightly drier. It comes into balance, you get harmony, and eventually the wine also becomes more drinkable.
Yes. Better with age, just like me.
Absolutely.
I hope so. So there you have it, master class with a real master of wine, Olivier Humbrecht, and a fantastic wine here. This is everything you need for a wine to age. A great vineyard, a great producer, a great vintage. You also need a good cellar to store it in, but it's really worth checking it out and putting down a few bottles to enjoy. Thank you, Olivier.
You're welcome.
Daily Tastings Masterclass. This is good stuff.